Hello, Podsmashers of the internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-Bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer. We are your hosts, Penguin and Termite.
And 80-Bit Podsmash is a weekly podcast where we talk about video games and where they intersect with cultural topics and things that you care about.
That could be pop culture, movies, culture, I don't even know, we're just using words.
Words.
But we like to smash ideas of video games with other things so that we don't just churn out video game facts to you.
Yes, exactly. Try to think about video games in sort of more of a intellectual-minded way. Hence the term where gaming goes to grab a beer.
We don't always number our episodes over the air, but this is episode 46.
46.
The one and only.
Yeah. We're getting close.
Yeah, we're
getting
almost
close
to a
year
year
mark.
We're getting close.
Remarkable.
Stay tuned for fun things that might happen as a result of our 1 year anniversary. Tonight we are drinking a Czech CZECH style Pilsner called Shower Beer by Champion Brewing Company. And I will talk more about this beer during my favorite things and why we have it when we get there.
Oh, things to look forward to. Yeah. So I just got back from a week-long vacation.
You did.
Which is why we've had to, one of the reasons why we've had to sort of cram recordings in. But it's finally, I think we're finally at the end of a long stretch of absences from the two of us. So we'll finally be able to hopefully catch up.
This will be like the most relevant episode to everyone.
Right.
Because they will hear this really fast.
Like we were recording this.
Recording night.
Yeah, we were recording this a week from the day it airs.
Yeah.
As opposed to most of our episodes, we record several weeks in advance.
Yep.
So, yeah. So we'll have lots of things, hopefully relevant things, despite the fact that we're probably going to be talking about old games for most
we probably
of this
will.
episode. That's cool. But yeah, so my vacation, I have a couple things I want to talk about.
What happened? Lay it on me.
Number one, it was a family vacation, my side of the family, and I can say this because they're my side of the family. But man, oh man, I would be happy to not see any of those people for a while.
Do they listen to this podcast?
They do, but they heard me say this to them to their faces. So
okay.
I basically looked at them and I was like, I will be happy to not see you guys for a very long time. It's just the part of it was I should have been more involved in the planning, but like I let them kind of pick like where we stayed, and I also kind of let them figure out the travel arrangements.
That's amazing. You just show up.
Yeah, well, you just show up and you end up in a Toyota Sienna, which is just like basically is a minivan, and you're crammed in with 5 other people, and they're your family, which just brings, and for a 10-hour car ride.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, I think we spent a total of like, it was something like, I think I did the math earlier, it was something like 25 hours of driving because we went to multiple locations and stuff. It was just too much time crammed in with my family. And it's like, I love my sisters, I love my parents, but just like all of the old dynamics kind of come out. Like you kind of revert back to who you were when you were like 15 years old when you're with your family. At least I do. And
what does Maisie think about that?
She tolerates it, but she was the most like tolerant person in the entire trip. I think she got the worst of everything because she just has to kind of like smile and nod with everything, whereas I get
all her in-laws.
Be cranky. Yeah, exactly.
Like, yep.
So it was, and then like the place we stayed was like, it was basically like a grandma's house, and it wasn't even on the water. Like we were at Lake Michigan, and then it's a Great Lake, so it's like a beach without any salt. Like,
weird.
It's really weird, but like it looks like a beach. It's got waves and tides like a beach, but it doesn't have. You can smell the sand, but you can't smell salt. It's really cool. Really cool experience if you've never been to a Great Lake before.
I have not.
But instead of staying at like a beach house, we were at like a house like it was like 10 minutes walk distance away, but it was still you couldn't see the actual beach from it, and you just kind of. Like, and it like smelled and looked like a grandma's house. Like it had like grandma's house decor.
Wow.
It was just like, so I was like, I wish I had been more involved in planning the spot. And then secondarily, I wish that I wish that Macy and I had arranged our own travel arrangements, because just driving, like that is the lesson learned, is like, I'm no longer like Macy and I are now our own family unit. So I should stop like piggybacking off of the family's plans, because it just ends up being more miserable then. Cause like we couldn't go like just drive and go on a date. Because it wasn't, you had
one vehicle for all of you?
Yeah, and we couldn't drive the rental because like it was under my parents' name. So it's just like, it was like, And the other frustrating thing that I want to get off my chest, if that's okay.
You just come out here and vent.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that was frustrating was we went to my cousin's wedding, and my cousin recently converted to Catholicism, which is fine. Like, more power to him. Like, I'm I personally don't get it.
But you have to sit through a Catholic wedding.
But I had to sit through a Catholic wedding, yes, and they're like, part of the reason why they converted to Catholicism is like him and his fiance, now wife, converted was because they were like music majors and they really love all the like classical music, essentially, that accompanies services. In fact, they sing in the choir. But because they like that stuff, they went like uber Catholic, like uncomfortably Catholic for other Catholics. Like the priest even said that. He's like, we got everything in this. Like it's like a straight up like, uber Catholic wedding. And it was like...
How long did it last?
It was an hour and a half.
That's not bad.
It was an hour and a half after the actual wedding ceremony portion.
Which is usually like 15, 20 minutes.
It was, 15, 20 minutes. And then the actual mass portion of it was like an hour and a half. Now, I don't want to offend any of our Catholic listeners. Like, I have nothing against people who are Catholic. What I don't get, though, like the whole thing reminded me, there was an episode of South Park that made fun of Catholics, and like they had something about like we have to ask the Spider Queen.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. That was the point. It's like they have all this stuff that to outsiders is seemingly nonsensical and is just like all these little like ritual things. Like
but it's like super rooted in tradition.
It's super rooted in tradition, but it's also so far removed from those traditions that it doesn't make any kind of obvious sense to those watching it that are outside of it. Yeah. Like in some cases, I'm like, oh, I can get the symbolism of this thing, or I can, if I'm looking at like. If I understand anything about Islam and I watch an Islamic service, I'm like, okay, I kind of get the symbolism of that. I kind of get, but I feel like Catholicism is just so rooted in all these traditions that I'm like, why is the altar boy shaking his little incense thing at the Bible? Like, just like this doesn't really
and they have an answer if you talk to someone,
I'm sure they do, but like I'm just in there this whole time. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know whether I should stand. I don't know when to sit. Like, it was weird. So it was an experience. It was definitely. I was like, okay, well, I can say I've been to a Catholic wedding now, and I've been to a Catholic mass simultaneously. So it's but it was long.
Did you learn anything?
Did I learn anything?
Yeah, from what was talked about.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was just kind of a strange wedding. They didn't have like speeches they didn't have dances or any dancing. They didn't have speeches. They basically just like, they came, we had dinner or lunch. It was like an afternoon wedding. And then they did like pictures and stuff. And then there was an open bar. That was nice. And then there was just, they just kind of like wrapped things up and left. And it was cool. Like, but it was chill. I'm glad they did the wedding they wanted to do. Yeah. I guess is the end of the story. But I was just like, this is so uncomfortable. Did I really drive 25 hours worth of round trip for this?
No, you spent a whole week out there on the lake. And you went to amusement parks and you spent time with your family.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. All the stuff that matters.
So that's enough complaining from me. Did you have anything you wanted to know?
I don't want to complain about anything.
Nice.
I'm ready to rock.
You want to complain about anything?
No, I'm good. Marathon training kicked up again. I'm on week 2. The first week went really, really well. I had one really good run that kind of boosted my confidence again. After, off season, you lose a bunch of fitness, you gain a bunch of weight, and you kind of question everything in life. Yeah. So I had some good runs.
Cool.
So I'm jazzed up about that. We're starting to eat healthy again. My birthday is in the rearview mirror.
Yay!
So cake is passed, beers are passed.
What did you do on your birthday?
I went to a Macklemore and Kesha concert.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing.
Freaking amazing.
Macy and I saw pictures of that, and we said, we looked at each other and we go, this is one thing I don't have FOMO about.
Nice.
We were like, I'm happy they're having a good time, but I'm not interested.
It was incredible. Macklemore puts on a heck of a show.
I'm sure, yeah.
And Kesha is Kesha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did they do songs together, or was
they had
it
one song together?
Okay.
It's on their album that they're promoting.
Oh, gotcha.
Or
cool.
Macklemore has an album that he's promoting,
and Kesha,
and so does Kesha on an album. But on Macklemore's album, there's one song they do a duet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So of course they did that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's fun.
Awesome.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And then what else did you do on your birthday? God of War.
Oh, I platinum God of War.
Father and son.
Yes.
Yeah. I was proud of you.
On the day of my birthday, my wife was like, you can do whatever you want for the afternoon. We have people coming over later, and we just woke up from a nap, so I had like a couple hours in the afternoon to kill, and I platinumed God of War, finally.
Nice.
I got it April 25th or something like that is when I bought it, and it's now July. And my birthday was July 29th, so it took every bit of 3 months to finish that game. I know most people knocked it out in a weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can see you can just go back and look at our Instagram to see the time, because we both took pictures and posted on Instagram of literally the same thing, which was just a screenshot of the father and son trophy.
Yours was backwards, by the way.
So you can go, oh, was it?
That's it was funny. Mirrored imaged.
That's great. So you can go back and see the time difference between when we posted each of our trophies just to see how much longer it took him to do it.
Yeah, and then you also played like 8 games in the same amount of time too.
I did play a lot of games.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Shall we move on to talking about our favorite things?
Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
Nice.
Hey, we nailed that.
Yeah, we did.
Looking at
Crushed it.
the live recording here.
Yeah, we're like totally in sync.
Hey.
And Backstreet Boys. Cool. So favorite things for those who are just joining us on our 46th episode is a segment at the start of our podcast we like to do. It's our first official segment. The podcast has officially begun rolling. And it's just a time for us to catch you up on the thing that we're digging this week. From pop culture and the like. So what you got for me?
So, as we just talked about, it was my birthday weekend. My wife surprised me with a very cheap, inexpensive thing that I didn't even know existed, and it changed my life. And it's my favorite thing.
Yeah?
It is a suction cup drink holder for the shower.
Nice.
And so you can have a shower beer or a shower coffee, which I love bringing drinks into the shower.
Awesome.
And that's why we're drinking shower beer tonight, because she also paired it with a 6-pack of shower beer.
That's great. Yeah, so, I would used to do that too. Just grab like... Back when I worked at the grocery store, I'd get like, especially in the summer where you just feel gross after like pushing carts all day and stuff, I'd be like, I'm going to get a shower beer. And I was just like drink. It was Good Juju was my shower beer.
Ooh, yeah.
Left hand Good Juju. Mm-hmm. And I would just sit there and just like drink it while being like, oh, everything's awful.
Yeah, it's so good. Like I come in from like mowing the grass and you're super hot and sweaty, or you come back from a run and you just pop. If it's an afternoon run, I don't do these in the morning. I usually run in the morning. But like if you have an afternoon run and you're getting ready to go out for the night, it's like, take the shower, grab a beer, and the shower beers are perfect for that. Like it's a light, crisp Pilsner. That's what we're drinking right now. So it's really, really refreshing, especially if you're super hot. Yeah,
it's awesome. I've got 2. I'm gonna do 2.
Stupid.
Yeah. It's favorite things.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
We're gonna pluralize it now because you need
no,
it
is. That's what it is. That's what
it is. Look at that.
Yeah. Favorite. So yeah, my first favorite thing was part of the trip, which is probably. It had its frustrating moments, but it was probably one of the better parts of the trip was we went to Cedar Point in Ohio, and it's a roller coaster park for those who are unfamiliar with it. It is I don't know if it still is, but I know at one point they had like the tallest roller coaster in the world. Or in the country.
Okay.
In the country.
The one that you went to specifically?
Yeah,
or
Cedar Point.
Okay.
Cedar Point, yeah. And then they had, and I think they also at one point had a record for the most roller coasters in a park as well. So it's definitely a roller coaster park. Like if you don't like roller coasters, don't go to Cedar Point. Period. Yeah. Like it's just not worth it. But yeah, so there was one roller coaster on there that was amazing. There was several that were amazing, but there was one in particular that's my favorite thing. It's called the Dragster. I posted a picture of it on Instagram. It's something like it's a 400-foot high loop.
I want that.
All it is they just launch you. You go up, you come down. But they launch you. The speed at which they launch you go from something like 0 to 120 in like 3 seconds.
Hey, King's Dominion had that.
They had that, but theirs wasn't as tall.
It wasn't as tall. Yeah. Not 400
this
feet.
Is just like seriously.
Awesome.
I joke that I lost my ability to form short-term memories for about 17 seconds because
wow.
So it's just like it's that short of a ride. You're just like and then you're done, and that's it. And like it was so awesome. I was just like, I wanted to do it more than once because it was one of those that like, if there was no line for it, I would have done it over and over and over again.
Was the line super long?
But the lines were pretty rough. Yeah. So there were lots of roller coasters, and that's the thing is there were lots of roller coasters that didn't have any lines. So we tended to kind of prioritize those because I'm like, I've never been to this one before, so I want to try to do all the different roller coasters I can. There was one roller coaster that was brand new. It's called the Steel Vengeance. And very manly name. And it had a 2-hour wait the entire day, pretty much.
Jeez.
The only time we would have had under 2 hours of a wait was first thing in the morning. And we went first thing in the morning, but they shut it down because it started raining.
Of course.
So then, and then
Did
by
you
the
wait
time
2
the
hours
rain
for it?
stopped, no, we just didn't.
You never rode it?
Yeah,
that's unacceptable.
Like,
it's you just got to eat the 2 hours.
There's like 14 roller coasters at this park.
Did you ride everything?
There's no way to do it with those wait times
in one day. You only had one day?
We only had one day.
Oh, okay. I thought you were there for a couple days.
No, we were just there. No, if it would have been a couple days, I would have just gone there first thing in the morning the next day. But no, it was just one day. So just had day passes.
Dang.
So Dragster was one. It was
sounds like that was worth it though.
Good. Yeah, Dragster was awesome. My other favorite thing was in Grand Rapids, which is where my cousin's wedding was. One night we went out with some of my cousin's aunts and uncles because it was, bigger family wedding, and they wanted to do Mexican, but at this point in the trip, I was like, I'm done letting them make decisions. So I said, I'm going to look up, just do some research. So I did a quick I did a quick like Google search, Yelp search, and I found this one restaurant that had, most of the Mexican restaurants in Grand Rapids had something like 200 to 400 reviews, and they had some good like 4.5, 4.6 ratings. But then I saw a restaurant that had 800 reviews and was still a 4.6 rating.
Dang.
It was called Donkey Taquiera, but I just called it Donkey Tacos. It was so good.
So they got Mexican.
Yeah, so
I don't understand how you're stepping in and make a decision.
I decided. I said we're doing Donkey Tacos, and they're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like,
"Oh, you
yes.
did research about Mexican
food. I did research about Mexican food.
So you just looked at Mexican
I just looked at
restaurants.
restaurants.
I thought you were like, "Screw y'all, I'm doing me. I'm going to pick something. You guys can join me."
No.
And it's going to be like anything.
Yeah, I said we'll do Mexican, but I'm going to pick the place.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And I made my case. I said 800 reviews and 4.6 rating. It's double the amount of reviews that any other place in this town has. It was awesome. We had to wait like 45 minutes, but we just went to a brewery right across the street called Elk Brewing, so we just grabbed a beer and like waited.
Yeah.
And the donkey tacos were so good. I had a taco that had braised. It wasn't actually made out of donkey meat, if that's confusing to anybody. No. But I had a taco that had braised lamb, and then I had another one that had pork belly.
That sounds so good.
And my wife had one with carnitas, like. And there was one that she had another one that had like, it was just like 3 kinds of potatoes in a taco.
Yeah.
Like, and then of course they all had like sauces and other things, like there was guacamole, radishes and stuff like that, jalapenos. They're corn, like homemade corn tortillas too.
Could you watch them make it?
No, there was like, we were sitting outside and they made it in the restaurant, but it was it was just like, everybody said like, good choice, Daniel. Like,
and you're like, yay,
I'm like,
love
yes.
me.
I said the lesson that everyone should learn from this is we should listen to Daniel. Whenever Daniel says that we should do something, listen to him.
After spending your entire life being squashed by your sisters,
yes, being told. Be
quiet,
that I'm
Dan.
wrong.
Stop,
yeah,
Dan.
Exactly. So I got vindicated. The best food choice for the weekend. It was really good though. It was like, if you are ever in Grand Rapids, or if you live in Grand Rapids and haven't been, go to Donkey Tacos. And if you have been, go to Donkey Tacos.
What's the actual name?
Donkey Taquiera. But it's called Donkey, like Donkey is the name, but it's like Donkey Taquiera. Donkey Tacos. Get it. Amazing. Yum.
Taqueria?
I don't speak that funny language.
Now you're racist. Nice.
Donkey Taquiera. I'm not going to do it in a funny accent, all right? So, cool. That is favorite things. Let's move on to our next DLC. Downloadable content is a... Wow, that was good.
It was awesome.
That was awesome. The downloadable content is a segment where we kind of have like a mini discussion. It's just a fun thing. It is content generated from the brains of these two Dans, Penguin and Termite.
A little extra bit or game that's like extra.
Yeah, and it's not... Sometimes it has something to do with our main topic. Sometimes it doesn't. This one does not. It has something to do with what we just talked about, which was roller coasters. I don't really know why I did it like that.
All right, let's get ready to rumble.
So since we just talked about roller coasters are fresh on my mind since I just went to the biggest roller coaster park in America. They say, by the way, whenever you're like, thank you for coming to Cedar Point, America's roller coast.
Oh, interesting.
It's right on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And it's like a little like peninsula, like juts out. And then like an L shape. And like the whole park is built on this peninsula. That's
awesome.
Cool. Sorry, that was just a side note. So
I want to go.
In that vein, Termite here reminded me that Nintendo is planning on opening up a amusement park of their own.
They're partnering with Universal to do it as part of their like Universal Studios stuff.
Yeah,
and
is it going to be like Nintendo World? Or is it going to be a whole separate park?
No, I don't know. I'm assuming it's like the Harry Potter world or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That's kind of like an offshoot within their park. It's probably going to be that, but It's called Nintendo World.
Gotcha. So I want to do, for our DLC today, I want to each of us come up with a different, so not a non-Nintendo developer or publisher or franchise that you think would make an awesome amusement park if they ever got big enough to build their own amusement park. So yeah, that's the idea. We're each gonna come up with like a park, and then we're gonna come up with 3 rides, 3 ideas for rides within that park that we think would be cool and thematically appropriate. So I've got mine. I don't know if you've got yours ready.
I need one more ride time.
Okay.
I have the publisher and 2 rides.
Okay,
so I need to come up with my third one.
So I'll start then.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Capcom.
Ooh.
Like a Capcom world. My 3 rides would be a Devil May Cry ride that's called Ebony and Ivory.
Okay.
And it's a roller coaster that's like
Dueling Dragons.
Like the Dueling Dragons. It's two separate coasters that are like intertwined and come
Yeah.
within close, and one's black and one's white.
Uh-huh.
So you pick, I want to go on Ebony, I want to go on Ivory, and yeah, so that's one. The other one would be, I don't really have a clever name for it, but it'd be a Mega Man ride, and it'd be a hybrid coaster that's like that has different building materials for like the different like not the Mega Mans, but like all of them, there's like Woodman and Steel Man. Are those like bad guys?
Yeah, I don't know all of them by heart. But
Right. But yeah, that's the idea. It would have like different. So you come to one part of the roller coaster and it's steel, and then it turns into like a wooden roller coaster.
Ooh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. And then my last one was a Street Fighter ride or roller coaster called Hadouken. And it's a roller coaster. I don't have any special ideas for it, but I think it's Street Fighter. Yeah, or like
it turns orange at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's shaped like a fireball. I don't know. Maybe it's I can't think of like a. If it was Shoryuken, it would be like a launch coaster.
Ooh, that'd be sweet.
Up.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Maybe that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Forming your ideas on the spot.
Yeah, that's
what I'm going to do.
Shoryuken.
Yeah.
There's a Shoryuken and a Hadouken somewhere out there. Yeah, exactly. But then you could have all the different world. There'd be like a Resident Evil area, and that they would have like rides for like scary rides and zombie stuff. And it'd be like Halloween all year round. And then they could have like a Mega Man section and a Monster Hunter section. And have
there's so many
different
Rising
possible things. Yeah, exactly. Because they have just a bunch of different, like, very different franchises that I think would be really good for an amusement park. So,
yeah,
cool,
sweet.
That's my Capcom World.
I would have Square Enix World.
Oh yeah,
but this is amazing. This just hit me, and I had to go with it.
Okay.
So you know how Disney World has Epcot, where you can like go around the world to all the different countries.
Yeah,
you would have Final Fantasy, where you have 15 different areas that are all like built up for each game in like a major city. So like Final Fantasy 7 would have Midgar.
Yep.
10 would have Zanarkand. Like 15, I don't remember the name of the big city in 15. The one that got rated.
Yeah. I didn't play 15 yet.
So that you could go around to each world and like get customized food and like see gear and characters from that specific Final Fantasy. You could and like have some sort of like chocobo trolley that takes you between each of the worlds. So I just want to be around this giant like.
I want stuffed animal versions of the summons.
Of course, yeah, like every summons, not only would you get stuffed animals of all the summons, but you'd have each summon from each game. So like here's Bahamut from Final Fantasy X. Here's Bahamut from Final Fantasy 7. And
was it Zero, Neo, and regular Bahamut from 7?
Yeah, but he's like in 6 as well. So that would be awesome.
That'd be great.
That's one ride.
Oh yeah,
so that's why I couldn't think of another one. But I know
Tomb Raider. You could do something. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Like Tomb Raider, it would be like a cool, maybe a log ride, kind of a slow, kind of like experiential storytelling. Yeah,
like the Escape from Pompeii,
exactly.
And Busch Gardens. Which did
you
hear it set on fire?
It did, and they shut it down.
Yeah, they're getting rid of it forever.
Yeah, it's all gone.
It's all gone.
There's a Jurassic Park ride in Universal. It's just like that. Just like a thrilling, like some stuff's going to get in your face. You're going to have some fire, but you're in a protected cart, and it's fun, and you just kind of have like an experience with some drops and stuff. But I don't have a third ride. I still don't have a third ride. I'd love like a fast, intense thing, but Square Enix doesn't really have, unless you take something from like a mini game, like the motorcycle chase scene,
or like a Blitzball thing,
or Blitzball. Yeah, or you could have like a fast roller coaster. Thing.
Just call it Blitzball.
Yeah.
Or they could have Blitzball shows. That would be pretty cool.
It'd be really cool to have like the Final Fantasy 9 ship at the beginning with the stage like play. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 9?
I've seen it being played, and I've played like a very little, like the intro of it.
There's a theater group that flies on an airship that invades the town to steal the princess. It's the intro of the game. And so like there's all these tickets, and the whole town is like rushing to go see this play on the theater ship. So you could have like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Actually have an airship that you have to like get up to, whether by elevator or ladder or some trolley or something. But like to be on the airship to watch a theater show, like a dinner show. That'd be
they could have a roller coaster that's named after one of the ships, like either Ragnarok or the High Wind. A roller coaster called the High Wind.
Yeah, it's perfect because High Wind is a trope from all Final Fantasy, so that'd be sweet. That'd be that's my Square Enix world.
Sweet. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Well, that's DLC for the day. If you guys should holler at us, try to reach out to us and tell us what your perfect video game themed amusement parks would be and what ride ideas. If you want to piggyback off of us and give us some more ride ideas for ours. And if you're like a huge multi-billion-dollar investor that wants to partner with us so that we can help you plan out your...
We have the ideas.
Yeah, we got
Forget
all the
who
ideas.
owns the IP.
Yeah.
Just come to us.
Well, they can hire us. So Square Enix or Capcom, if you're listening to this, or Nintendo, we'll help you out. Penguin and Termite will design the big ideas for your amusement park.
Ideas.
We won't do all the nitty gritty. I
would love to do that.
I'm not like a city planner or anything. I have no idea how we would design the infrastructure, but I'll give you the ideas. I'll come up with the cool ideas.
And I can't wait for the Nintendo theme park that is actually happening.
Yeah,
because I'm just speculating in my head about like F-Zero, Star Fox roller coasters, and there's supposedly like an actual real life Mario Kart course, and what that looks like. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet. We'll have to hit Nintendo World, Penguin and Termite invade Nintendo World.
Yep,
2025, whenever.
Yes, who knows?
Yeah,
we might be playing Death Stranding by then.
Yeah,
and maybe the Final Fantasy VII remake too.
Oh,
we might be playing that hopefully. Yeah. By 2025.
Maybe they'll have the Final Fantasy VII remake at that point, too.
Yeah.
Maybe George R. R. Martin will have finished Winds of Winter.
Ooh,
wow.
Maybe. There's all these
probably not,
ethereal things happening in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to our main topic today. So, Termite, this is your topic idea, so why don't you introduce what we're talking about today?
In the middle of summer, at the end of July, it's kind of the middle of summer, depending on what stage of life you're in. The summertime is the biggest lull in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
E3 is always at the beginning of June, which is the very beginning of summer, and then no really releases until the fall. Everyone targets like the Black Friday time, and they target the spring time, like the March. And I don't know why, because the end of the fiscal year is the only reason why I can think of March being a target for like video game releases. But there's always like two giant release windows, and that's spring and fall. So summer gets nothing, or like quote-unquote throwaway titles. It's games that don't need, that don't merit the giant like hype. So anyway, we're all in the summertime. We're not keeping up with every single game that comes out every single week because there's not. So this is the time in the industry when everyone who's in there, who plays video games, catches up on their backlog. So we're going to talk about our backlogs.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about backlogs in general. I think the idea of backlogs, and we'll discuss we'll discuss for those who don't know what a backlog is and what they mean, either for non-gamers or gamers who are just super good at keeping up with all their games, and which is, no one. We'll talk about what we mean. We'll talk about the different types of backlogs. We'll talk about our specific backlogs, and then we'll talk about just some other kind of questions related to backlogs.
Yeah.
So we'll get into those. So, so we'll start. What's a backlog?
A backlog is usually just a list of games you haven't played yet.
Yep.
That's as simple as that.
Yep.
You can have already bought them. You might not have already bought them and you want to buy them. But most of the time, it's like the collection sitting on your shelf that you look at and you're like, I haven't played any of those yet.
Yep.
And I want them. And I am shameful because I paid money for them.
Shame.
And I don't have time to play them.
Yeah.
So as a kid, the amount of time you have to play games is such that you can play everything you own because you can't buy them as fast because you don't have any money.
Right.
When you become an adult, you have money to buy all the games you want to play, but you don't have any time to play them.
Exactly.
So thus, we have a backlog problem.
We end up having a backlog problem, yeah.
Yep.
So the way I see it, there's there's a bunch of different types of backlogs, or if you say levels of backlogs, if you will. They're just different categories, I think, that I like to, in my mind, think of and structure my backlog. There's the main backlog that I have, which is these are games that I haven't played yet, but I'm going to play. So, for example, like for my example, Fallout 4 is a game that is currently in my backlog, but it's like right next up in my backlog. Like I'm going to play Fallout 4. And I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head that's like sitting there because I've actually done a pretty good job of catching up with my backlog. But yeah, that's the biggest game in my main backlog. That's like an old game. It's not a game that's coming out. I have other games in my list that I'm going to probably play as they come out. For example, Battle for Azeroth is a game that I'm going to play, but it's not out yet. Exactly.
So I don't even know if I would put that on a backlog.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
it's
yet.
more like a front log. It's more like, all right, here are the games I'm going to play like that are out. I guess like I do want at some point grab and play the Frozen Wilds DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn, but again, that falls into a different category. So as far as like, main backlogs though, it's like my main backlog is
you own the game.
I own the game.
It's sitting right there. It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. I'm in the middle of playing Tomb Raider right now. I'm going to finish Rise of the Tomb Raider and then boom,
jump right on
is Fallout. So that list can be long or small depending on how well you manage your games or how much time you have to play your games. So I'm sure your main backlog is probably a lot bigger than mine because
way bigger
because you have more games on it that are like basically queued up.
Yep.
The secondary backlog are games that, I define it as secondary backlog. This is not this is no like official terminology.
Yeah, this is just us
that we're
like
making up. So I would describe the secondary backlog as these are games that are in my library that I want to play at some point. So a good example for me are I have the first two Batman Arkham games.
Do you?
That I've never played.
On
I
PS4?
think I played. No, I have them on Steam.
Oh.
So this is a lot like a lot of my like secondary backlog games are games that I have on Steam because they're games that I own. I've purchased. I was interested in playing them at one point.
Can you get Minesweeper on Steam? Is that on your backlog?
Minesweeper is on all Windows.
Ooh, I heard PCs can use Excel too. You can write some documents if you want.
So I'm going to play. I've got that. Mass Effect is another one that I want to play it at some point. I've got 1 and 2. Again, I got them on the Steam sale, so I'm sitting on those, ready to play them, or not ready to play them, but I just like if and when I have time and I'm bored enough, then I'll hit those games. The wish list.
Oh, I was going to say that I had one more point to add.
Oh, yeah.
Is a generalization of like, it's usually those games that you find cheap on sale.
Yes.
That you're like, oh, I'm going to want to play that eventually, but I don't have time to play it yet. But it's $5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to get it now and claim it.
Yep.
And so like my secondary backlog consists like 90% of digital games.
Yep.
And I just have like I just picked up Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 and Final Fantasy 9. I talked about it last week on the podcast. Like those are all like secondary backlog.
Yeah, another good example of games on the secondary backlog are games that you get from like PS Plus, or from the Xbox Rewards or whatever, where it's like you're like, oh, that's awesome. I've been wanting to play. XCOM 2 is a great example of one that I've got where I'm like, oh yeah, it came for free like a month, like May or something like that, and so it's a game that I'm interested in, and I own it, but whether or not I'll end up making time to play it is to be determined.
And then I love like remasters and remakes and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get into a little bit more of that later, but I also have a bunch of those on my secondary backlog.
Sure. Yeah. Wishlist backlog are games that like they're games or franchises that you would like to get into but just really haven't made either the time or money invested. You haven't bought them and you haven't really like even planned out the time investment to like figure out when to do them or play them. Do you have I'm trying to think of an example of my own.
Mine's Divinity Original Sin.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like I've never played either one, and 2 is about to come out in August, so I can't put that on my backlog. But the first one's been out forever, and it's only $10.
Right.
And I'm like, it looks so good, right up my alley. I want to play it so bad.
Like Path of Exile is a good one for me. Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's
Isn't that free to play?
Spiritual. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have any investment other than time. But
just gotta get it.
Spiritual. It's a spiritual successor to Diablo 2. Yeah, and I've just heard it's great, and it's been going strong forever. So yeah, they're franchises or games that you're like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to get into that and just never have. Another good one example for me is Left 4 Dead. Like I had no interest in Left 4 Dead for a long time, and then recently people have been like, oh, you have to play it, and it's a great couch co-op game. So it's one that I'm like, oh, I do really want to play it, but I just
if they ported that to PS4 and added trophies, oh my gosh,
you'd be on that.
There's my Halloween. I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the wish list backlog, and then the final categorization I have is replay backlog. And these are games that you own and have played before and want to play again, want to revisit them, and just either, like, in some cases, like for me, I'm like Darksiders 2 is on my replay backlog. It is a game, it's a game that's like queued up. I'm ready to play it. I will play it before Darksiders 3 comes out. But that could also fall, another game of mine that falls in that category is Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
I really want to replay it. I really want to like finally beat Sephiroth because I played the entire game.
You should platinum
when I was a kid. Yeah, well, I don't have it on Steam. I'm not going to buy it again on PlayStation unless it's really cheap. Unless it's like under $5, I'd probably grab it again for $5. But anyway, so I have it. I have it downloaded. It's even downloaded to my laptop, but I just haven't like. It's a time investment, and I'm just like, eh.
It has the speed thing, right?
No, not the Steam version. At least the version that I have doesn't have it. So it's so it's just like it's one of those games I really want to do. But it's because it's a replay game, it's so low on my priority list. It's like I have already played this. So Darksiders 1 I pushed through, but finished it, and so that was on my. It was not only was it on my replay backlog, but it was like a game that I was actively playing, and now Darksiders 2 is in that same place. But it's sort of like I'll play it when in between games when I have time.
That was one of those games that I didn't even experience when they came out ever.
Yeah.
And I played it with the remaster, and I started it with the idea of I'm going to platinum this game. Yeah. So I played on the hardest difficulty. And it's so freaking hard that I'm like, I stopped playing. It's like, it's not fun anymore. So I need to turn the difficulty down and forgo the idea of platinuming it. And
so that would fall in your, what would that fall in your secondary backlog or your?
Right now it's in my secondary, but it was in my wish list before I played it.
Cool. Well, those are the kind of the different categories that I have for backlogs. I don't know if you wanted to.
No, those are the different
expand
categories.
Upon those.
No, it's pretty much sums them all up.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So did you want to talk about your actual backlog? What is currently on your backlog or various backlogs?
My nearest one, the one that you would call your primary backlog, I guess. The ones I have owned already, they're here. Octopath Traveler for the Switch. Detroit Become Human for PS4. Rise of the Tomb Raider as well. Ni no Kuni 2 that I just got for my birthday. Shout out to T-Bone who got that for me.
Yay.
And I also have different categories of games. So like Ni no Kuni fits into the category I can play that with my son around.
Yes.
Or Tomb Raider I can't. God of War I could not. Detroit I would not. Like so like every game that Octopath Traveler maybe it's a little like
racy at some point,
and racy too. So like I probably wouldn't play that around him. And so I actually don't have a game I can play around my son at the moment until I got Ni no Kuni. So that's why I'm throwing that up in the primary backlog. And then I have like some retro games for PS3 that I'm still kind of working through, and Dishonored. I've started it, and so that's kind of on my primary backlog. It's insane. I have so many. And then I have a Super Nintendo Classic upstairs that I'm dying to play, Secret of Mana and Earthbound.
Yeah.
Both are, I've never played them before.
Okay, yeah.
And so those are kind of like queued up. Those are my primary backlog.
Yeah, and then you've got some we could talk about remasters and stuff. Those kind of fall in those can fall, I should say, in like a wish list backlog.
Yep.
So,
and I have the BioShock collection for PS4, and I have the Batman Arkham Asylum and City like redone. They like Return to Arkham series is what they call it. And then I have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
Okay, and all those you've played before, but you just want to play the remaster
and Final Fantasy
version.
9.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of games.
Yeah, you have he has way more, and I'm glad he's not going through each and every single one of them because he has a lot. He could, but like, well, yeah, just I'm looking at his list.
Like
and
an
I'm
hour.
Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I also have mapped out how many hours every game takes to complete, so I have like a rough estimate of how long it'll take, and it's like 4 years.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
If you look at the burn ratio or burn rate of my God of War time, how long it took me to get 35 hours maybe.
Yeah.
It took me 3 months, so I get 10 hours a month, roughly.
Yeah. Right now, I think I've actually, I talked, especially, a few months ago, I talked about how I was hitting my backlog pretty hard. And I've actually knocked off most of the stuff that was on like my main and like my main backlog and some of the replay backlog, stuff like that. I do have a couple like I said, wishlist franchises, and I do still have a huge secondary backlog of games, especially on my Steam library that I'm just like, meh. So right now I'm transitioning more into my, I get into two moods. I'm either like, I want to knock out games to knock them out, like to check them off my boxes or whatever. And then I get into a mood where I'm like, no, I just want to play what I want to play. I'm kind of transitioning more into a play what I want to play mood. And in my mind, I've got mapped out like it's near the end of the summer. So even though I am playing like older games, like right now I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider and Fallout 4. Like those are games that came out 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Like that,
I've got my eyes set on like August 14th is Battle for Azeroth, so I'll crack that open and play it for a month, and then Spider-Man comes out the next month,
September 7th,
and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out
September 14th.
Yeah, exactly. So those are two games that one after another I will probably grab and play.
That's what I'm talking about. Like no big titles have come out for the last month or two,
exactly.
And now we have like September. There's two games weeks apart,
week apart.
Two games
exactly,
right
and that's what I'm saying. Is like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wrap up these games that I've got. I've got 14 days to enjoy, finish Tomb Raider and enjoy Fallout 4 before I decide to invest some time into WoW. And then, I'll play that for a month and then hit literally a month later. It's like, boom, Spider-Man, boom, Tomb Raider. And those will keep me busy for hopefully a good long time. So
Darksiders 3 is November, right?
Yeah.
Like November 26th or something
and
like that.
Gosh, what else? So Smash Bros. Is December, and that's
Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Yeah, Let's Go's, and gosh, what else? There's a lot of games that are coming out this fall that I'm really excited about. So I will be playing a lot of them. I feel like there's another Nintendo one, but I don't know.
Mine's just Pokemon Let's Go and Smash Bros.
There's something else. There was something else, but it's cool. It'll come to me later. But yeah, so it's like I've got my my backlog's kind of taking my backlog. I'm at least in my mind. I'm starting to like transition out of my backlog and into okay. Here's my front log, I guess. Yeah. Like these are the games I'm going to grab as they come out and play them, and hopefully they'll keep me busy. But there's always time in between those. I always find myself being like, oh, it took me a lot less time to get through this game than I thought it would. God of War was an example of that, where I was like, oh, I burned that a lot faster than I intended to. So, same with Tomb Raider. Actually, in this case, I'm actually almost done with it. I'll probably finish it tonight or tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
So, I do. That's right. That's another one on my backlog. Is I got to borrow Uncharted 4 from you.
Oh, you got to play that. It's so
really
good. Uncharted Lost Legacy is on my primary backlog. By the way,
too.
I might actually just switch gears and do that next because it's quick.
Yeah.
I can knock that out in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
A month.
I enjoyed Uncharted as I got into it. Far Cry is an example of a game. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I just thought that I was like, that's on like a wish. That's like a wish list franchise.
You never played any of them?
Never played any of the Far Cry games, and I've heard that 3 is really good. And I've heard that 4 is okay, and then I've heard that 5 is really good.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to invest some time into that at some point, but who knows?
Mine's Assassin's Creed. I never played any of them.
Wolfenstein's another good one.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we both were like, what was that? Assassin's Creed. Oh yeah. That's like
never played any
franchise.
of them. I'm like, I wish.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish. I had time.
I have 3. It's technically 3 is one of my secondary backlog games.
Assassin's Creed 3?
Yeah, I was attracted to it because I was like, oh, America,
right,
and Native American, and like the Revolution. I thought it was a cool setting for it. But I've heard it's like the worst one.
Yeah.
So more than that, I want to play 4.
Me too.
Because it's like pirate ships. Yeah. Exactly. Sorry. Side note. And then, so let's spend some time talking about sort of some different ideas in regards to some other questions. So let's sort of talk about how your backlog has changed over the years. Has it like tended towards getting bigger? Like when you were a kid, like you said, you had more time, so you didn't really have, and you didn't have money, so you didn't really have a backlog of games. You just played the ones you had. Just over the years, how has your backlog changed? What kinds of games do you tend to put on it? What kinds of games tend to stay longer in your backlog? Just let's talk about how it's evolved.
Right now there's a lot of heavy giant titles, and the only thing I can think of is attributing it to what I said earlier about how as you grow up you have less time to play and more money to spend. But as a kid it would be like we'd go rent games every weekend, and that's kind of how the backlog started churning as a child. Like, we're going to rent this game again. We're going to rent this game again. And hopefully one day we'll buy it. And then when you get it for like birthday or Christmas, that's all you played. We didn't rent games for like ever after we got new games because my parents were like, no, I'm not going to rent you anything. You just got this.
You just got a game,
And these things cost so much money. Like, you're just going to play this. And so I remember like mastering games, 100%ing, if you will, like Banjo-Kazooie. My brother and I did it in 3 days because we had rented it so much. We had it memorized. So when we finally got our own copy, we just burned through it in like no time. Stuff like Star Fox 64. I'm remembering like a lot of N64 era times because we would just play those games. There wasn't a backlog. It almost was non-existent.
Yeah.
And then like I got into college with the Steam library, kind of became a thing. And Steam sales, winter sales, summer sales would come, and those games $2, $3, $4.
Yes.
And then just started mounting, like getting all these extra games. Then you start feeling bad.
You look at it and you're like, I've spent so much money on these games, and like you said, you feel the sort of shame.
Yeah, you're like,
I need to play that.
I can't believe it.
And I need to play it, but then looking at it and saying, like, A, where would I start?
Right.
And B, like, it's just such a daunting task. And when new games are coming out too, like I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, do I play Mass Effect or do I play Spider-Man when it comes out in a month,
Right. And that's kind of a new thing too, as I get more and more knowledgeable about the gaming industry as a whole. I've always been I've always had a subscription to magazines, so I've always kind of known what's out there. But I really like slimmed down what I wanted to play because of the money issue, not having money to buy what you want.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm completely expanded. It's like there's so many games from so many publishers.
Yep.
But I also think the gaming industry has just become more prolific in general. There's just more games out there now, and so that's kind of evolved and changed my backlog to increase it and just keep heaping things on it. I used to be able to like manage 3 consoles. PlayStation, GameCube, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, and like I was fine. I had enough time to play everything I wanted across 3 consoles. Where now it's like I focus on one. Yeah, the Switch being a backup and the Xbox being a backup, but like PS4 is my main one. Yeah, and I can't even keep up with the Switch, much less PS4. Yeah, so it's a lot now.
Yeah, the biggest thing that impacted my backlog, I was interested in the games I was interested in as a kid and as a young adult, but like.
World of Warcraft,
but then World of Warcraft came out. Yeah, exactly.
And
but
you had no
I sort of kept up on it. I sort of kept up with the games I wanted to play for a long time. Actually, even before WoW, I would say that like Diablo 2. I spent just like, I was like, okay, I'm a Diablo 2 player. Like, this is what I do. I play Diablo 2, and then WoW came out. I was like, okay, I'm a WoW player. This is what I do. Like, and there was a long period of time where I didn't play any other games, and I missed out on so many franchises. So I think that's been the biggest thing that's impacted my backlog is like trying to catch up on the period that happened during my WoW days.
So Xbox 360 and PS3 games.
Xbox 360 and PS3 games.
That whole era.
Yeah, exactly. That whole era of games are entire franchises that I've been trying to sort of catch up on as I go. That's where I've landed with like Mass Effect. That's where I was with BioShock for a long time is like... And I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, there are all these game names that some sort of like... I think all game names are somewhat like nonsensical if you just but like I know what Mario is, so I know what a Mario game is. I know what Warcraft is, so I know what a game with Warcraft in the title is. Yeah. But like what's a Far Cry? What's a BioShock? Like, you know what I mean? Because I missed out on that whole generation of games because I was playing WoW, it's like they all sort of bled together, but like now trying to parse them out and figure out what they are has like led me to like try to explore them and like, oh, I've heard such great things about this. Everyone raves about this franchise, so I want to give it a try. I want to see what it's all about, and that has contributed to like me purchasing some of these games on the cheap and then never touching them.
Yeah,
like, and I tried Mass Effect and just didn't get into it, but I'm still like really interested. Like, I'm like, okay, well maybe I could get into it if I really tried. You know, there's all these, and same with Far Cry. It's like, well, Far Cry, the only difference is I haven't actually tried it. Like, but in my mind, I'm like, there was a long time where I was like, this looks not interesting to me at all. But like then 5 came out and it looked amazing, and I'm like, ooh, not only would I like to play 5, but I'd also like to see what everyone talks about with 3, and you know what I mean. So there's just so many franchises that I missed out on. That's probably been the biggest thing that's evolved my backlog. Is because when I was younger, I just didn't care.
Right? Yeah, you just focus on what you have.
Focus on what I had and what I really liked.
And you're not missing out on anything else.
Yeah, and then since I got WoW so early in my young adulthood, and I just stuck with that for so long,
right?
That by the time like. It was just a weird phenomenon because I'm like, oh, I've missed out on so much and so much stuff that looks actually really interesting that I want to play. Yeah,
I feel like I wasted a lot of time playing Call of Duty. So I got that bug where I wanted to play online and level up and get my kill death ratio up and stuff, and like people were quote prestiging. That's when you get max level and you kind of start over and you lose all your upgrades and you have a little medal, and you could do that like 10 times and get a different medal each time. And like I kind of got that bug, and I probably wasted like at least 2 winters of lots of time able to play games and didn't like churn through. I used to rent games even like in college. Like I rented the original Batman Arkham Asylum when it first came out for 360, and I played that through a snowstorm. That was awesome.
Oh, nice, yeah.
But then I spent like the rest of that winter playing Modern Warfare 2, and it's like, why did I do that? So like that attributes its like backlog is building because I'm spending I would actually look back at that and say wasting time playing one game when I should have been like churning through what I really wanted to play.
Yeah. As a sort of side question, I thought that just came to my mind while you were talking was, do you have any games on your backlog that are not video games?
No.
Yeah, you do.
I do?
Both you and I, technically I would say our backlog consists of Gloomhaven.
No, I don't count that. We'll get to that one. Like,
Pathfinder. But you know what I mean? Like they're still backlog games essentially. Like they still fall in that same category, and I think it's interesting.
But it wouldn't pull me away from my gaming time. Like, that's something I would do with my friends.
Social time, yeah.
And so, like, that's... When I sit down to play a video game, I'm not like, oh, man, I should be playing Gloomhaven right now.
Right.
Or with my backlog, I'm like, oh, man, I should be playing this I just spent money on. But I'm going to go play this other game that...
Cool. Side note. Okay, cool.
I like that, though. It's a good conversation. Yeah, good question.
Interesting. All right.
I'll give it to you.
So, I guess we've already sort of talked about this, so I'll skip this question and go into the last one. So, what are different ways that you can approach, that people do, or you can approach your backlog?
I know.
What are the two kind, or what are the different approaches? Because you know it may not be necessarily the approach that you have, but what are the approaches?
It's a good question. I have my approach, which is I like transparency. I want to see it. I want to list everything on my backlog, and I want to know how many hours it takes. And I will, if I have a moment on the toilet or somewhere where I can like peruse some trophy guides, I'll like look and prioritize the games based on how easy the trophies are to get. My goal is to have 30 trophies a month, which is 1 trophy a day. It's very doable. I mean, that's like, if you're a trophy hunter, that's the bottom, like, to even get started. So I will do that. And to me, that kind of, like, 1, gets me a little overwhelmed, but 2, it's comforting at the same time to know that it's all there and just have it. Like, I got steps. Like, here's the process. I'm actively playing towards that progress. Just like, this is so meta. It's the exact same thing as a trophy list.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing God of War. I finished it. I got the platinum. But from day 1, I was like, I'm going to platinum this game. I've done all the research on the trophies. And every time I sit down to play God of War, whether I actually do anything or not, I know I'm striving towards that platinum.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I approach my backlog. It's like, I have this list of games that I've paid for that I have in my library, and I'm going to chomp at the bit, and I will get through them eventually, and probably not actually ever get through them. But having that list in front of me is that progress list, that list that shows me I'm making progress. Now, I have a coworker who, I don't know if he listens to us or not, so shout out to you, Mr. Edwards, if you are listening to us.
Mr. Edwards!
He does not buy a game. He will not buy a game regardless of how cheap it is. He might desperately want a game, and he will not buy it until he's finished with what he's playing.
That's a way of doing it, yeah.
And so he has no backlog because he doesn't own anything he can't play. And my brother's the same way. He will like focus on one game until it's completely done, he has a backlog. He does. And I'd love to hear his backlog. So you should post that in Reddit.
I would love him to tell us how he approaches it. If like does he say like, okay, well, I've got these games in my backlog, but I will not play this game until I finish this game, and then once I will not play this next game until I finish this one. So so whether or not he buys games, like you still could approach it in such a way where you're like, okay, like I'm going to take it literally one game at a time. I'm going to play hard until I'm done with this game, and then that would just, in my mind, that would suck when you hit a game like even just I'm gonna say like Breath of the Wild, but like a game that's like just super long. Yeah, and you're like, like churning it, like because I spent over 100 hours playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, me too.
Just playing it, like. So, yeah, and I wasn't even trying necessarily to like 100% get all the core. So like, it also depends on different people's personalities and stuff too.
Right.
I've sort of talked about the two different ways I approach my backlog are I either like, again, I'm either like, okay, I'm going to make a list of a few games that I'll play, and I usually will have simultaneous games. So like I'll have a few games where I'm like, okay, here's my project game. Darksiders was like my project game, and I was playing that simultaneous to Doom, which is more like this is my fun game. So this is a game that I'm going to play to enjoy. And then I've got the game that I'll play like as my project. Yeah. So it's like, there's, kind of just being like, so that way I get a little bit done at a time off my backlog. But it's also like, there's also the, I have the other mode of my gaming, which is I'm just going to play what I want to play right now. And sometimes I want to play my backlog games, and sometimes I want to play my current games. So that's kind of how I approach it. Like, and those, again, like, some people might just say there's my backlog. My backlog is my backlog. So they might not even parse it out in the same way I have it parsed out into those 4 different categories. Right. Like they might just be like, that my backlog is my backlog, and it consists of all these games. Whereas for me, compartmentalizing it into those different categories is essentially a way that I approach my backlog, because I'm like, okay, like I have this, like my main backlog is my priority games. Like these are the games I'm going to play and going to like make a priority, make progress on. Whereas, like, if a game's on my second, like, Mass Effect's a great example. I've said that, like, multiple times. Like, it's a game where I'm like, I do want to play it at some point, but I'm not going to make it a priority. I don't even have it downloaded on my computer. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll get to it when I get to it, and I'm not stressed about getting to it.
Have you ever played a game you didn't want to play in the moment, but you did it because of the backlog?
Yes, I've done that.
Okay, yeah. I do that all the time. I'm like, I'm so done with this freaking game. I don't want to play it anymore, but I have to finish it to get it off this list.
Sometimes I find myself, like, BioShock was one of those for me. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do this. Like, I wasn't, like, I didn't want to, like, I wasn't in a mood to where I was like, I'm in the mood for BioShock. Yeah. I was just like, you know what? Like, I've been telling myself I'm going to do this for a long time. And then what ends up happening is I enjoy the heck out of it. And then I wanted to jump right. And then I prioritized BioShock 2. I was like, I really want to play BioShock 2 now because I'm really into it now.
Oh,
like,
I want to play it so bad.
Yeah. And same thing with Infinite. Then I ended up replaying Infinite because I just enjoyed the franchise. You know what I mean?
So good.
That I find that sometimes that experience is actually beneficial for me. But then sometimes I was getting a little bit frustrated with the end of Darksiders. I'll admit. Like I was enjoying it for the first like few levels, and then by the end of it, I was like, why did I decide to make a priority of replaying this game? I'm so frustrated. Like, I did that right before vacation so I could knock it out and not be, like, that's one of those games where you have to get, like, a good flow with your combat, and if you, like, get away from it for a week and get back to it, you have to relearn that flow. So I was like, I'm just gonna...
That's how I was with God of War after I came back from Hawaii. I was like, I haven't played anything in 17 days.
Gosh, I believe that, yeah.
And then God of War is such a dance with the combat.
It is,
and so precise.
So I have had that experience where I've just been like, I'm literally just forcing myself to play this game at some points. So yeah, that's
good that some people do that. Some people don't. They're like, I only play what I want. I'm never if I don't feel like playing it, it's done. Yeah, and I'll trade it in and get rid of it. I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I can't even do that.
For sure.
I bought this. I committed by putting $1 on it, and because of that, I will play it.
Yeah, I've ping pong between those two.
Yeah.
Like, I have experienced both of those extremes before, and I ping-pong between the two. It literally just depends on, like, my mood and what time of year it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because, like, I can literally see the value in both things. Like, I'm not going to waste time doing something that I hate. But I also did spend money on this, so I do want to make sure I get my value out of it. Yeah. So, like, I think both are very valid, and I can say for myself that I legitimately ping-pong between both.
You know what really slowed my backlog progress down? Or, like, the building of it? Is not trading games in. I used to like just churn through games and like I wouldn't finish them and I would just trade them in because I'm like, I'm done. And I kind of got in that habit with Xbox 360, and I started that with PS4, and I would kind of justify getting a new hit game. Like, this game just came out. I need to play it. So in order to get it, I got to trade in some old stuff to kind of mitigate the cost. Where now I just buy less. Yeah. Or buy them really, really cheap.
Yeah.
Instead of trading them in. and then I keep the backlog. So it's almost like not a catch-22, but I thought it was a good idea, but now I'm just amassing games.
Yeah.
And so like they're there, and if I don't play them, it's like I wanted that to stop the backlog from building, but it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
That's fun.
Backlogs, man.
Backlogs, crazy. Well, let's finish by talking about what are some strategies that our listeners can employ if they find themselves looking at their backlog and feeling either stress or shame. There was in fact, part of this, well, in the sake of transparency, part of this topic was inspired by a Polygon article.
Yep.
And Polygon posted just a short article. It was more like a forum prompt than anything else, where they wanted people to respond with talking about backlogs. But it sort of inspired this topic, and they talked. They had a quote in there that I really liked. That they said a backlog shouldn't be something that you see as shameful. It should be something that is celebrated when you check a box off of it.
Yeah.
Like, so it's more like, don't be ashamed that you have so many games in your backlog. Be happy when you check a game off your backlog. And that's sort of, I like that. I like that mentality. So what are some strategies that our listeners can employ to have that mindset towards their backlog?
We're talking about video games.
Yeah.
We don't need a single one in our life for anything.
Yeah.
We enjoy them.
They're the
there
definition
to
of luxury
us.
items.
Yeah, it is a luxury item. And the fact that you have so many, you can't play them all.
Right.
It's just like I have so many cars, I can't find a ride to work. I have, I don't know, so much. My house is so big.
Yeah.
I don't have any space for things, or I don't know. So it's just, they're luxury things. You look at them and you're like, yeah, those bring me joy, or maybe they don't, but they should, because you bought them for a reason. So that kind of mentality is like, okay.
Yeah, if video games don't bring you joy, stop buying video games.
Right.
We'll say that straight up. Don't play them, don't buy them. Go out and spend that money drinking with your friends or whatever, or playing bocce ball or whatever you enjoy.
That's a random thing to just pick up.
I don't really know where it came from either.
Some people usually play pool
food,
or
go
bowling
get food.
or
Delicious
darts.
food. Go to Donkey Tacos. If that's what makes you happy and video games don't, then go to Donkey Tacos.
But eat healthy.
But go to Donkey Tacos.
Get a balanced diet.
No, I agree. Perspective. I would also say just like I know that I had I went through the compulsive Steam buying phase, and have since stopped. It's just if you are at least smarter with the video games that you purchase, then you'll objectively have less of a backlog, because you'll be able to be more in control. So sometimes you're gonna have years where a ton of great games come out all at once, like 2017.
2017 was nuts. I'm still catching up.
Yeah,
I just got Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah, exactly. So there's gonna be games that side note, Persona 5 is another game that's on my wish list backlog.
I'm borrowing a copy from a coworker. I haven't played it yet. I need to give it back to him.
You just need to give it back. I agree.
I do.
There's so just be having a plan, and then also again having a strategy. If you see a game, my current thing is for games that I really want, 15 or under, games that are on that wish list backlog where I'm like, oh, I would totally play this if it was cheap enough. I still my threshold is 15 and under. I didn't even buy Rise of the Tomb Raider when it was on sale for 20. I was like,
nope, not 15.
Just not 15. Yeah. And then games that are even further on that wish list that are Debt 5 or under. I will not grab a game. I had it on my replay backlog, Darksiders 1 for a long time. I didn't grab it until I found it for $3. You know what I mean? I'm just not gonna do it until it's cheap enough. So so just kind of I won't say necessarily being smart, because it's not a knock against your intelligence if you buy games. If you
want them, you buy them
compulsively. That's not
we'll talk about budgeting,
but it's just more of it's more of a strategic, being more strategic about how you purchase your games would be a way to reduce stress. I think the sort of stress of that,
right?
Because again, I think that's people's biggest thing. The biggest source of shame is that idea that I spent money on this. I should play. I should get the most out of the experience.
Right.
That is a perfectly valid source of shame, I think. But so if that is a source of shame for you, then just try to be more strategic about how you spend your money then, so that way you don't build up that sense of shame.
You just reminded me of an entire strategy. I don't know if
go
are
for
you done
it.
with that thought?
Yeah, I'm done with that thought.
Another strategy that I've heard, I've kind of employed this myself, is $1 an hour.
Oh, that's
I need to get at least if I spend $10, 10 hours worth of fun out of this. Because if you go to a movie, you spend $12 to $15 on a movie ticket, and you get 2 hours. So that's $6 to $8 an hour for your entertainment. Whereas,
and if you eat out at a restaurant, You're getting you could be spending up to $20 an hour for the experience.
$100 an hour if you go crazy. But so I like that $1 an hour comfort level. It's like, can I get 5 hours out of this?
Yeah.
It's a giant game.
Yeah. And then just accept there's going to be a list of games on your backlog. I think that's another category that I probably should have talked about.
Ooh.
There's a list of games on your backlog that you're just never going to play.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there.
Like, yep.
They're there. They're taking up space. You spent money on them. Like, if you can just get to the point where you're emotionally okay with that, then great.
This entire wall of video games that I'm looking at right now.
Exactly. Like they're awesome.
I've collected
It's awesome.
them from my
I would
childhood.
love to play them at some point, but you're never going to probably. And that's
not
okay.
all the way in their entirety.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll always pull them off the shelf and be like, "Ooh, this is a fun nostalgia trip."
Yeah, exactly. But it's definitely there's definitely a category of games where you're just like, I've spent money on them. Like,
you got to eat it.
Yep, you just got to sort of swallow it. There was something in the moment that made you excited to buy that, and then you sort of have to be like, but I'm not going to have the time or desire to play this in the near future, and maybe someday, or maybe one of your kids will play it. Like, just kind of like
it doesn't go bad
mindset. Yeah,
it doesn't like expire.
Yeah, exactly. There's always those stories. You see people on Reddit post all the time where they're like, I found this up in the attic, and it's like a bunch of N64 games. Like someone will maybe get enjoyment out of it. I'm hoping there's a way that you can like bequeath your Steam library to someone upon your death.
Dig at the whole digital thing that I don't like. It's like it's not shareable unless you give your password
maybe
away.
In the future it will be.
Yeah, maybe
because they have it's a new technology. Like at some point they'll maybe have to.
Can you share your music? Music was kind of the first entry into the whole digital movement.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can share your music between iTunes accounts or Google things.
Yeah, they will have to think about that at some point though, because like
we could have a whole conversation about digital downloads
and bequeath.
You just want to say that.
I do love the word. It's a good word.
Pretty good word.
Yeah. Words. It's my Hamlet quote for the day.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's our topic for you guys. Tell us about your backlogs. What games are on your backlogs? What games did you? How do you approach your backlog? Do you parse it out into categories like mine? Do you just like hammer out each game one at a time? Does your backlog result in a source of stress or shame for you, or are you just kind of nonchalant about it? Don't care. I'm going to play whatever I want to play whenever I want to play it, kind of deal.
The polar opposite of me, and I want to find you. Talk to me if you are the person who just plays like an hour of everything, who just plays the game and then that's it. Like, and your trophy list or your game history is huge, but you have no completion.
Yeah,
because there are people that do
get
that.
A little taste of everything.
And they love it and they're fine. Like, I don't know a person that does that, and I need to find someone.
I want to find you. Okay,
I know they exist.
Termite's Orkin Man. We got to find your Orkin Man.
You would kill me if I found you. I'd be like, oh, how do you do this? How do you sleep?
All right, well, that's so give us feedback about your backlogs. Let us know. You can give us feedback by finding us
at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website. Where you can find links to iTunes and Google Play.
No one's actually done this yet, and I want someone to do it. So your homework, Podsmashers, is to go to 80bitpodsmash.com and comment on an episode, because there's a comment option.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know what happens. I'm sure I could test it out myself, but it'd be more fun and authentic.
When we first started, some people did that.
Did they?
Yeah, and I didn't get any notifications. Didn't do anything.
Dumb.
They're there, but you have to like log in and look.
Yeah.
There could be some you don't even know about.
Wow. Okay, well, then never mind. That's not your homework. My homework is to find out.
There you go.
Which ones have comments.
I'm going to give you guys real homework, and that is to actually share us from your Twitter account or from your Facebook account.
Yeah.
Like, hit that share button. And talk to your friends about us. Yeah. If you enjoy us, someone else will too.
Yep, exactly.
And we want to hit everyone we can.
Yeah, so we want to grow our listener base, and that's the best way to do it, is like it always has been on the internet, is to go viral. So share us. If there's a particular episode, or if this episode is one that just like resonated with you, you're like, yeah, that's me. Backlogs are like my life. Then share it and let other people experience our content as well. And give us their feedback. So we'd be happy with that. So you can also find us at 80bitpodsmash on Twitter, at 80bitpodsmash on Reddit, at 80bitpodsmash on Instagram. We try to keep up with posting about things that we think you guys will find interesting. I tried to post some fun stuff during my vacation that I did, and Termite did as well when he was in Hawaii, and also in Rehoboth. So we try, and whenever we're out, we try to post it. But we also try to do things, post things.
I'm doing a new thing.
Yeah,
I started it this week. Where I always peruse video game news every day, like churning stuff. And we don't have a podcast show. It's about the news.
Yeah,
they exist, and I listen to them. But I try to tweet about something to do with the news, something relevant. So like today, what did I tweet about today? I don't remember. But
was it the
microtransactions being added?
I
did not tweet about that.
Oh, okay.
I did want to talk about it though.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, subscribe to me on Twitter if you don't normally follow video game news, but you kind of want like the highlights. You don't want to scroll through a whole web page and like try to find what you like. Hit me up and get the notification, subscribe to us, and then hit the bell. And then every time I tweet, then you'll get that notification on your phone.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like 1 or 2 like big headlines a day at the most.
Yeah.
At the least, 1 every couple days.
Yeah. Cool. And then we'll you can find us on iTunes and Google Play, where the actual podcast feed is, and subscribe to us there. If you enjoyed it, make a comment on iTunes, because that will also help us bubble to the top.
Yes.
Of interest. So, y'all, thanks for bearing with us, and
have a good week.
Yeah, have a great week.